You're listening to the Noon 15 podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cole, and I'll take you behind the scenes of Noon 15, an independent band writing, performing, and recording original music. This season, we'll talk about Noon 15's debut release, Volume 1, and get the story behind one song per episode, as well as the ups and downs of working around day jobs, babies, and band shakeups here in Ithaca, New York. At the end of each episode, you'll hear the song in its finished form. Thanks for listening, and welcome to Noon 15, the podcast. And we're here for Volume 1, the upcoming album from Noon 15. I'm here today with Mandy Goldman, Samuel B. Lupowitz, Harry Nichols, and Joe Massa, the four core members as they are right now. And I guess we'll kind of start with the basics of how and when Noon 15 came together.
Oh,
whoever wants to take it.
Yeah. See,
Right.
I can edit out the awkward silence.
Yeah,
Or
we
magic.
we can edit out all of this.
And every
we can
time we
edit
say,
out most of this. No, Sam and I, in like end of 2015, beginning of 2016, he was leaving the Blind Spots, or leaving the touring band that he was a part of, if we want to be more vague about that. And we were
No one will know that way.
we were like
Smooth.
we just really wanted to have some time to do a project together.
World could change. Maybe life proved you wrong. Maybe I think that's too strange. So maybe I'll
We had been listening to a lot of like Wolfpack and a lot of like Street Dive, and we were like, this is really what we want to be doing, is writing some like smart pop songs. And I had just started writing songs that year, and we were like, I don't know, we were like, now's the time, like we just want to like be super creatively invested in something.
We had tried after I kind of put my solo project on the back burner. Mandy and I knew we wanted to do something more collaborative, and I knew I wanted something that was going to be less about wrangling a bunch of people who happened to all be into playing the music, and that we wanted to do something that was more focused on a small group of people who we trusted and relied on. And, we could
Which
just...
meant Joe.
Yeah.
Like,
Enter Joe Massa.
Well, I was playing with them in the Eagle Band. I had a good time with them. I think they write great songs and they play their instruments great. And I was also childless at that time, too. So there was not too much music I could be playing. And I definitely saw the potential in what this could be. And I was hoping, that to be a part of it going forward.
and then one night we had a lot of whiskey. We went to Harry's house. We went to Harry's house and then had a lot of whiskey and played him some songs. And he was like, I could do this with you. And we were like, cool, great.
It was also kind of like I don't know. I feel like it kind of, the universe made it so that it was kind of possible, because like my projects were kind of like Harry Nichols' band was like kind of fizzling and done.
And I will be your Riker. You can feel my emotions, and I'll feel what's inside her. And if you sense I need you now, then you can meet me on the bridge. On the bridge.
Yeah, we both folded our solo projects.
Everything was
right
like
around
kind of
the time.
closing up at the same time naturally, and it just seemed.
And I remember early 2016 when it was in the process of coming together, and Sam and I would be talking about it, and it's the way that it kind of happened like that. Yeah, like, oh, Harry's going to end up playing bass, and oh, Joe's going to end up playing guitar. It's almost like that wasn't immediately on your mind because you're in six bands already with Joe, for one thing, and but it wasn't maybe immediately on your mind, but it really worked out as well as it could have, I feel like.
Yeah, it happened very naturally once we determined what kind of band we wanted it to be, which was great.
And then you settled on Chris Armitage as the drummer, and he's since not with the band at this point, but what can you say about really what he brought to the project in the early stages through making this album happen?
Well, we went through a couple of guys, and Chris was the one who came in and didn't bail on us, which was, that was the thing. We knew him there was a point where we were days away from our first gig, and we had been abandoned.
Yeah.
And I was asking every drummer I could think of, and I knew Chris from playing in Alan Rose's band,
Right.
and I knew him from Fall Creek Brass Band, and I knew we were into that kind of New Orleans influenced rhythm section thing, and I knew he was into that. And he was the one who I got in touch with and said, yeah, 2 gigs, learn all the songs in the next 3 days. I'm in, let's do it.
Yeah, he came in and he played well, and he was really always very kind and easy and nice, and he worked hard, so he was great.
That's about all you could ask for at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the first gig that you're talking about was at the Nines in early May. And of 2016, of course,
Yeah.
a year and a half ago now. But a few days before that was an appearance on the radio show Tuesdays with the Band that, if I remember at the time, was the first time the band had played outside of the rehearsal space.
Yeah, and the second time Chris played any of the songs. That's
right, that's right.
Yeah.
Did I leave you? Did I grieve you? And I'm talking about how I want you, how I need you, how I'm down on my knees. So would you satisfy me? No.
And we're all right now working toward December 9th, which is the date for the album release of Volume 1 at the Carriage House Loft. And the decision, I think it came from you, Sam, to release the album in this format that we're doing right here and right now, kind of song by song in a podcast like this. So what brought you to that conclusion as far as how to release it?
The short version is that I asked my brother how he listens to new music now, and he says, honestly, I don't really listen to music much anymore. I'm listening to podcasts in my car because I'm on the road all the time for work. And then he said, but you guys should do a podcast. I said, all right, cool. So my brother, music industry mogul, Jeremy Lupowitz, determined that we should do this. Also,
Well, an outside opinion, though, right? Sometimes that's, yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, I'm such a sucker for craft. And that's my enthusiasm for music always goes beyond the music itself. The process of making the music, that's as exciting and interesting to me as a fan and a listener as the end result itself. So I've definitely tried to impart that philosophy back onto my own creative projects. And part of it is, wanting to hear myself talk about all the work I did and make people listen. But also, like, I'm lucky that I'm in a band with people whose work I am fans of, and I thought it would be interesting to me to hear everyone talk about their creative process and making this thing together. So I figured if it's interesting to me, hopefully it will be interesting to other people also.
Very cool.
I think it's also a little bit, for me anyway, about trying to do the album release thing in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've all released albums and we've all, been around that block at least a couple of times. And, it's hard to make, you can't make people pay attention, but it's hard to get people's attention, with your music. If you're always doing the same thing. So we're trying something new, and seeing what that produces.
Very nice. And again, the album release show December 9th at the Carriage House Loft. And so to move into the album itself now a little bit, the very first track is Knock, Knock, Knock. What I think is very cool about this song in particular is that it is based on a true story. And writing credit goes to Sam Lupowitz, so tell us about this one.
Okay, so I wrote this song about an event that happened in the apartment that Mandy and I used to live in. We would occasionally, through our paper-thin walls, hear the couple who live next door to us having less than a great time. And one night, in the middle of the night, we heard this pounding outside our door. And what we worked out, what Mandy mostly worked out, because I'm not great at being awake and alert in a crisis in the middle of the night. It takes me a little bit to wake up. But the girl who lived next door had some huge fight with her boyfriend and was coming home, and she was very, very intoxicated.
She was, as they say, hammered.
And she was screaming, like, apologizing and crying and let me in. And the only problem was they lived next door to us, but she was knocking on our door.
I see.
And she would not stop.
And I was shouting out the window. I was like, this is not your house. Like, you do not live here. Please go away. It's very late at night. Like, please.
When I shout, this ain't your room. It doesn't seem to reach.
And she persisted, and eventually I was like, we're gonna wake up the whole apartment complex. So I gotta go down there. So I had to go down there and open the door. And I thought that what was going to happen when I opened the door was she was going to go like, oh, this isn't my apartment. Like, let me go next door. But instead she tried to come right in the house. And I had to kind of gently, but I had to kind of shove her back out of the house. And I was like, you don't live here. And I shut the door in her face. I felt really bad about it. Afterward, I was convinced that the cops were going to come get me because I had pushed her out. I was like, I laid hands on this woman. And I was incensed also that she had done this. Like, I was furious that she had, woken me up in the middle of the night. And so
taking you to a place where you're now going to get in trouble from the cops.
Yeah, I was like, you made me lay hands on you, woman. And the next morning, I was like, listen, I'm waiting for my apology note. Like, I'm waiting for my letter from her. Like, she could get me some flowers. Like, I need a nice gesture for the fact that you kept me awake all night long.
Or at the very least, an Olive Garden gift card.
That was literally, I was like, she could just get me a gift card somewhere. Like, it doesn't have to be somewhere good. Like, maybe like an Olive Garden gift card.
Get those endless breadsticks.
Hands called apology. That's all you need to placate me. Oh,
And so I turned that into a song, pretty much note from as much for the band as to amuse Mandy and myself, and also to continue the recurring theme in my work of songs containing true stories about drunk women accidentally trying to get into our apartment. The other of which is Indian Summer Hillview Place from the last Ego band.
We just that seems to follow us wherever we go, huh?
Oh, wow.
Drunk girls next door, 2 a.m. Trying to climb home no matter what you told them. They came in through the window, then they screamed and ran. Dropping in on neighbors wasn't part of their plan.
I knew it was going to be like a Sharon Jones kind of soul song because I was trying so much to I've written so many songs that have 2,000 chord changes, as you well know, and since we were sort of formulating the soul, affect of this band, I was trying to write something that was complicated because of the lyrics rather than because of the harmonic structure.
What you mean. He's done you wrong. He sold out what the two of you had for a song. I don't want to shake you in your moment of doubt, but if you keep on knocking, I will knock you out. So
The demo, I don't know. You hear me writing for Mandy's voice, and it's
You
my
do amazing.
my
Mandy impression.
weak ass imitation of what things Mandy will do, as opposed to your
terrific.
demos
So
are
great.
just, even when you're writing for Mandy's voice, it sounds like you singing it and then Mandy interprets it. But Mandy doesn't have to do as much interpreting; she just has to do it a lot better.
There is an art though to vocally estimating your your co-players.
What are you gonna shout upstairs and cry for? You're looking for your man, and you know his house ain't right. Oh no, but babe, it's the middle of the night. Why you gotta make me come down?
The band, as it breaks up, typically is Mandy on vocals,
you're looking for your man, but you know this house ain't right.
Sam on keys, various different kinds, and vocals,
Knock, knock, knock so damn hard. Oh,
Harry on the bass and vocals,
kick him to the curb.
Joe on guitars, and Chris Armitage on drums on the album. And on a couple of different points, including Knock Knock Knock, there were some other musicians who contributed to it as well. We have Bob McMahon on trumpet, Alex Staples on tenor sax, and Kevin Drew on the baritone sax.
I think that song is just a stamp. It's like it's what we do in a nutshell. It's concise and it's to the point, and it's a lot of fun.
The great line in this, though, because you can hear the emotion in your voice, Mandy, is the "keep on knocking and I'll knock you flat." Like you were that close, and you can hear that listening to this. That's great. Well, I think we're ready to hear "Knock Knock Knock." Noon 15, the lead track from Volume 1.
Bam, bam, bam.
Why you gotta knock, knock, knock on my door? Honey, it's the middle of the night. What you gotta shout upstairs and cry for? You're looking for your man, but you know this house ain't right. No, I can only guess what bullied through you. You're a mess of tears and slurry speech, and I can tell that I'm not getting to you. When I shout, this ain't your room, it doesn't seem to reach. Oh, but baby, don't make me come down there. You know I know your boyfriend, he lives next door.
He lives next door.
I know because I hear you when you fight.
Every night.
And if I were you, I'd kick him to the curb.
Kick into the
But you're giving me the sense that you're higher than a kite. So right now, baby, don't make me come down, babe. I know what you mean. He's done you wrong. He sold out what the two of you had for a song. I don't wanna shake you in your moment of doubt, but if you keep on knocking, I will knock you out. So why you gotta knock, knock, knock so damn hard?
not so damn hard.
Well, maybe in the morning we can make it right. Maybe like an Olive Garden gift card.
Those endless breadsticks.
It's called apology. That's all you need to placate me. Oh, you're wailing so loud, I'm sure it's for real. He's made you a fool, well, I'll make you a deal. You call up a cab, get off my welcome mat. I won't throw the door open and knock you flat. So why you gotta knock, knock, knock on my door?
Knock on my door.
Oh, well, honey, it's the middle of the night, yeah. What you gotta shout upstairs and cry for?
And cry
Thanks for listening to the Noon 15 podcast. Visit noon15.com to subscribe and for more music, videos, and info on upcoming shows. If you like what you hear, tell your friends and leave us a review on iTunes. Tune in next time for another trip behind the scenes with Noon 15.